Shalom. All praises to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahushua, Ba'ashem Harakakadash. Double honors to your apostles and elders, great male son of all wow, and Shalom to the brothers and the works in truth. Got this article on RT covering Austria, and it's getting kind of nuts down there, man. I can't even lie, because they're the first ones to be enforcing a what's it called? A full, well, basically covering more or less the entire society, mandatory VX mandate. And now it says what? City hiring people hunters to pursue and find on VX. So this is what a city in Austria is looking for employees who will be tasked with enforcing fines against those unwilling to get the yab. The recruitment drive comes weeks ahead of a sweeping V mandate in the European country. I think there's a first globally as well, because successful candidates will be issuing penalties, processing appeals, and taking measures against those who fail to shell out their fine for being un-VX'd. Says a job ad placed by the Austrian city of Linz. The opening line says the job will suit those who take pleasure in working with legislation and administrative procedures. Basically, people, want to be able to use force on others. That's who's going to be attracted to it. And even then, it's kind of wild, man. And it showed, like, I know in Europe, these guys have been resisting like hella. So, I can see it. Well, they're basically doubling down on the enforcement angle. And that's just going to make it like, hey, anything else going forward, they're going to be able to push it, how they desire. That goes to the Karugma then. That's the next thing you'll start thinking about. They're going to say, hey, we're going to hire people to come and headlock you, choke slam you, put fines on you, dash you in jail. If you ain't getting down, it's already happening. The employee's hard toil will be remunerated monthly, with a salary starting from 2,700 euros. To qualify for the job, an individual will have to hold Austrian citizenship, be a secondary school graduate, be resilient and prepared to work overtime, have no criminal record, and last but not least, have a valid VX or recovery certificate. And on top of that, women will be given priority when vying for the post against men with comparable qualifications. So, just throw in some feminism there, because why not? Even though, apparently you're going to be needed to choke slam niggas to, suplex man into jail. But, women are being prioritized for some reason. That shows it's all in the spirit of Esau, man. All in the spirit of Babylon, man. That confusion. So it says Linz with comparable qualifications. So Linz, home to 200,000 residents, is known to have the lowest CVX rate across Austria, according to the website tracking the certificates in the country. Only 63% have received a complete VX so far. Early in December, the ruling Conservatives and 2 out of 3 opposition parties agreed to make it mandatory for all Austrians, bar those under 14 or those having medical exemptions. I think to even get a medical exemption, I Actually, no, that's a reaction. So this is what those unwilling to get, the can expect to be fined heavily every 3 months. uh, so that's that money for them. They're hiring for these people to go around and be breaking necks, cracking skulls, and drop kicking people into paying their fines is basically gonna come from these people. It says what men are getting fined a total of 3,600 interesting 3,600 euros over the course of a year, according to media reports. It says Austria is the first nation in Europe to have announced a sweeping mandate for all its citizens. Vienna was also the first in the world to impose a strict nationwide lockdown specifically for the UNVX. In November, only for it to be expanded to include everyone else weeks later. The lockdown expired on December 12th, but the UNVX Austrians still remain banned from non-essential outings. Sorry. So yeah, them men are still essentially being treated. Hey, it's you don't comply, you don't get down. No more freedoms, man. Yeah, guys, you'd be like, okay, I'm going out to get a fucking drink at the pub. They'll be drop kicking you in the chest, finding you hundreds to thousands of euros, and that's that's how it's basically leaning towards overseas as well, away from just Austria, the rest of Europe, the UK, the US, Austria, these other places, Australia, these other places. People will jump on the same flex. It's kind of wild. But what they got going down with these guys is actually nuts. So you have these men resisting. They gotta go out and get their head bashed in, man. That's the only hope they got. Only hope they got. Read this. Second Edge 15 and 14. It says, "Woe to the world and them that dwell therein, for the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. And one people shall stand up and fight against another, and swords in their hands." All these different forms of conflict, signs of the times, man. And as well, what comes with that conflict is what it says, for there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard their kings nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. A man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able, for because of their pride the cities shall be troubled, the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. Yeah, so it's basically mass form of conflict, man. Mass form of civil unrest, to where people are gonna be fucking each other up. Access, cities are gonna be locked down to where access is denied on a massive scale. These things already come to pass, and it's like, hey, even here in the UK, Boris said like, oh, he's not gonna do any more restrictions before Christmas, but then that more or less confirms like, as soon as it's over, or maybe even New Year's, then they might either lock the thing down or just completely restrict most things, and that's essentially where everything's expecting to go. now it's in, the time and spirit of what a man should desire to go into a city and shall not be able. That's really all this been going down. People are being, flights. Starts with like international flights. Then even locally, certain forms of transport, all different things. And then, when you deal with Austria, anything. If you ain't down, if you ain't getting what they're offering, it's a done deal, man. You're toast. And hey, these things are gonna be used. Well, that's the thing, is already the people are in the mindset of where they're moving as one, man. They're all in the accord. They're all thinking like, look, comply, so we can return to how it was. Return to the good times. Acts 12:1. Now about that time Herod the king stretched forth his hands to vex certain of the church, and he killed James the brother of John with a sword. And because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded further to take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. Yeah, so in the time of in the book of Acts, you had the leaders over Rome basically coming against the church, coming against the brothers, teaching the word, and basically just straight up having them put to death, hemming them up in jail. These things were done. Why? Because they saw it please the people. And that's the same kind of angle you're gonna have going with in this current time, where they've basically been building a narrative of those that got what Esau's offering, and those that haven't. And you've had the split, and it's even before anything was being offered. They had you had the split there for the longest. It started with masks or social distancing or whatever, and then slowly crept up to where now it's okay. The Charugma is being mentioned in in certain news articles, whatever, it's being promoted. You talk about it, and then channels and videos are just getting nuked out, like just getting shot out the sky by like anti-air missiles, man. Man, they got SAM missiles just tracking it, shooting off missiles to take them down. Because why? This is the this is the main agenda. This is the main push. This is the main desire. So hey, same way you're gonna have all that displeasure built up against against Jake. Those brothers teaching his word, man, teaching his truth. To where they're just gonna say like, hey, look, slander, the name, try and put all form of false acts upon brothers, which Esau's been trying to do. And then as well, just grab up and just be like, make a spectacle of taking out certain brothers. That's why it says what, those are gonna have their head removed for the for the word, man, for Yahweh Shai. That's how it's gonna get down. Gonna have to face it. Certain brothers are gonna have to face the guillotine, man. It says what? And when he had apprehended him, he put him in prison and delivered him to 4 quaternions of soldiers to keep him, intending after Easter to bring him forth to the people. Yeah. So he was looking to make a spectacle, bring out like, hey, look, this is the guy you hate, and then just put him to death, and then make Jake easier to manage, man, the land easier to handle. Make the people more pliable, and that's really what you're gonna have now as well. But yeah, I'll leave it there. Shalom. Shalom.